The Swiss karate master became the first non-Japanese finalist at the Kyokushin-style World Championships. In the early days of K1, he turned into a kickboxing superstar. Beat the best to ever do it. And won the most prestigious Grand Prix in 1996. For his artistic technique and respectful attitude towards rivals, Andy was lovingly nicknamed the Blue-Eyed Samurai. However, a shocking tragedy stopped the heartbeat of his career. Today we remember high-velocity knockouts and the journey of Andy Hoog. A fearless warrior who gave his soul to the fans in every single battle. Andreas, or Andy for short, was born in Switzerland on September 7, 1964. Hoog never saw his father, a soldier who died in service, and lived in an orphanage before turning 3 and being adopted by his grandmother. The kid was constantly bullied by his peers and firmly decided to change his own destiny. Andy went to a local karate school at the age of 10. Inspired by the Rocky movie, he stepped onto the tatami for the first time and never looked back. Wearing a snow-white kimono and hardened according to Kyokushin precepts, the Swiss man turned into a national sensation. At just 15 years old, the youngster was allowed to participate in the national championship, albeit the threshold age was 20. Hoog won the tournament like it was nothing. Fast forward 2 years, he opened his own gym. Soon came triumphs at the European level, achieved by Kakato Otoshigiri, or an axe kick, which would become known around the globe as the Andy kick. In 1986, Hoog decided to focus entirely on Kyokushin and quit his regular job at a slaughterhouse. I just couldn't keep working 10 hours straight and training for another 3. I had to choose whether to start a professional career or leave the sport. This decision paid off in 1987. The Blue-Eyed Gaijin competed at the World Cup, held once every 4 years. He amazed the Japanese public with otherworldly leg dexterity and the beloved axe swing. The low kicks were a huge part of the success as well, securing 2 stoppages. With 5 back-to-back wins, Andy became the first foreigner to reach the final. The closing battle between the Swiss southpaw and Akiyoshi Matsui was a Kyokushin classic. Hoog stood firm in this intense confrontation and displayed magnificent kicks. He was inches away from the title, but made a blunder in the end. An illegal punch to the head cost him the championship status. Despite being considered elite, Hoog basically stopped performing for 4 years, meticulously working on his craft. In his last Kyokushin showing against Francisco Filho in 1991, the Swiss lost via head kick right at the final whistle. The judges refused to overturn the controversial defeat. With the launch of the first ever professional karate league, Saido Kaikan, in 1992, Andy left the amateur circuit behind. He entered a 32-man tournament and immediately began dropping people with his kicks. Decimating the best karatekas in the world, Hug climbed to the top of the ladder and claimed the championship. Soon, the rumors about the blue-eyed samurai spread throughout Japan. The year of 1993 split Andy's career into before and after. The Kyokushin maestro added lethal knees to the arsenal and annihilated a dear friend, Nobuaki Kakuda, in the rematch. Next, Hug ran into a Thai boxing aficionado. He completely outplayed the Asian master at his own game. And he shined from a distance. And dominated in the clinch, foot sweeping the hard-nosed Thai at every opportunity. Nevertheless, the weird final of the second tournament was a major disappointment. Hug expertly audited Masaaki Satake with no gloves. Then the fight continued under kickboxing rules, and Andy was far ahead again. As it turned out, without a knockout, the winner was determined by Tamashiwari, the art of breaking solid objects. Luck betrayed the Swiss gent that night, but everyone present knew who the real champion was. That same year, Hug married Ilona, a model he met at a photo shoot. The sound of wedding bells announced their newfound happiness. And this time, the Tamashiwari shattered into pieces. This was the inception of Andy's main saga. In November 1993, Hug bombastically rolled into K1, a brainchild of Saido Kaikan creators, designed to finally erase the boundaries between disciplines and reveal the best striker on the planet. Tickets were sold out lickety-split, and the Swiss Samurai's first event was headlined Andy's Glove. The adversary, Ryuji Murakami, had already been beaten by Hug under karate rules. The K1 format was a perfect fit for me. I devoted my life to martial arts, and there was no going back. There were two paths, one to the top and one down the drain. The rematch in kickboxing went south for the Japanese gent. The next antagonist, Eric Albert, suffered an exquisite execution at the Flying Leg Festival. The Frenchman was cooked after falling down twice. In 1994, Andy was thrown under the bus in the form of the reigning king, Branko Cikatic. A year earlier, the big bad Croatian machine became a part of the sport's mythos, bulldozing through the first K1 Grand Prix. In the finale, he crucified one of the best strikers in history, the great Ernesto Hoost. In the beginning of the fight, Hug barely avoided a hospital visit. Moderately sized at 5'11" and weighing 200 pounds, Andy survived the bruiser's initial spurts. And then began to land consecutive left hands. The karateka was faster at range and went on the offensive. The most terrifying slugger in the world was forced to run from the Swiss samurai. Soon, Branko fell victim to a standing 8 count in return. A head-cracking cocktail of unorthodox kicks and lightning-fast punches gave Hug an undeniable advantage. Towards the end, Sikatic was growling in fury, mixed with helplessness. Such a technical, thorough deconstruction by Andy was something no one expected. That performance became the quintessence of his fighting style. Shortly before the December bout for the UKF kickboxing title, Hugh saw his first son, who'd been given the Japanese name Seiya, which means star. Full of joy, Andy exhibited one of the most memorable career demolitions. Having added a significant belt to the collection, he would defend it on multiple occasions. And viciously incapacitate the opposition every time. In 1994, Hugh also clashed with Patrick Smith twice. In the Grand Prix quarterfinal, the American gave Andy his own medicine. And then achieved a shocking upset in just 19 seconds. Opening the rival up with an axe kick and dropping him with a cross. Patrick sealed the deal with an uppercut and a sucker punch after the referee's signal.
I want to say to all my fans, I'm very sorry I lost my last fight. But I come back, I never give up, I look forward. This is the spirit of karate.
The blue-eyed Gaijin was dissatisfied with Smith's unsporting behavior. The rematch took place at K1 Revenge. At the outset, sparks were flying all over the ring again. And the American rushed into a frenzied attack. An unpleasant surprise awaited Patrick around the corner. A middle kick followed by a knee to the head marked the expiration date of Smith's chin. With this epic act of retribution, Andy continued the mission of flattening the opposition. Duke Rufus, who would coach UFC champions in the future, also got in the list when his liver was torn into pieces.
Auch hier ein Vorschlag in die Leber.
In the summer of 1995, Hugh reached the top of the food chain, personified by Ernesto Hoost. The Dutchman would win the K1 Grand Prix 4 times, a career achievement repeated only by Semi Schilt a decade later. Mr. Perfect was formidable to say the least, and would score plenty of knockouts against the elite of the elite in the future. Early on, Andy tried to stay at range and exchange kicks in open space. In response, Ernesto spiced things up with shattering combinations. Although Hugh was throwing back and staging counteroffensives, Hoost found a path to a decision victory. However, this was far from their last battle. That same year, Andy collided with Mike Bernardo twice. The South African has always professed an out-like-a-light type of kickboxing, and saw the judges slightly more often than penguins see the pyramids. He even managed to put the great Peter Arts to sleep. In the first fight, despite getting dropped, Baruchan got off with just a suspicious stain on his shorts. In the third stretch, Bernardo returned the favor. Mike rattled Hoog's head again. And then ruthlessly Tysoned him. The retaliation attempt took place at the Grand Prix, and Andy got the short end of the stick. Bernardo's right was kryptonite to Hoog's chin, and the Swiss had to recalibrate as soon as possible. A series of setbacks forced the blue-eyed samurai to rebuild himself. In 1996, the 31-year-old karateka entered a grueling training camp with one goal in mind: claiming the ever-elusive title. By spring, Andy's form had reached its peak, and he won the round of 16 in less than 3 minutes. The opponent in the quarterfinal acted brash in the beginning. Then swallowed a sleeping pill and took off to Unicorn Land. The old acquaintance Ernesto Hoost was waiting in the semis. Earlier that night, Mr. Perfect managed to send young Mirko Krokop to the hospital. But stepping into the ring against Hoog, you're in for a war of attrition. From the opening seconds, Andy tried to keep preferred distance, catapulting signature kicks. In the meantime, Hoost was pressing forward, imposing a scuffle in the pocket. The Swiss pikeman stabbed back with precise counters. Unorthodox low kicks to the back leg were also in play. The Dutchman began to crash into clinches with knees and unload on the exit. Andy borrowed the same tactic and was now firing from all guns on the break. Thunderous explosions in close paid dividends as well. The back-and-forth confrontation went the distance. The old-school titans of the 90s were forged in such clashes. As a result, Hoog got his vengeance by decision and advanced to the finale. The only obstacle left was the old nemesis Bernardo, fresh off smushing Peter Art's hemispheres. Beru-chan kicked off with aggressive assaults. Hoog answered with the hands and started piling on chopping low kicks. In the second frame, it turned out that Colossus stood on clay feet. Less than 5 minutes into the fight, Bernardo gave up for good. The splendid spinning kick to the thigh was instantly dubbed the Hoog Tornado. Andy reached the very top and won the Grand Prix, the crowning achievement in striking disciplines. That night, the blue-eyed samurai could walk on water and finally hit legendary status.
I feel very happy, but I feel also very happy for Mike. For me, this was the greatest time in my life. For me, last year a very hard year. I try very hard. I give every time my best. Last year was a year to learn, and this year, this is now my time.
For the remainder of the year of 1996, Hug did not rest on his laurels. He challenged Stan Lunganides for a Thai boxing belt. A classic southpaw left straight high kick by the Swiss wrung the rival's dome. An extra cross nailed Stan the Man to the canvas. After consecutive collapses, the title went to Hug's collection. And he also returned the favor to Masaki Satake. Without a saving Tamashiwari, the Japanese fighter had no choice except to ride a bike for 5 rounds. Hug dominated the action with dynamic boxing. Then the ghost of Van Damme possessed him and the crowd erupted in ecstatic approval. The ever-tough Satake was beaten across the board on the scorecards, and Andy took home the second Thai boxing strap. A similar fate befell the young Musashi. The future icon of Japanese kickboxing looked like a training dummy. A highly technical demolition ending in a lopsided decision summed up the year of 1996. The start of 1997 was the most difficult period in the Blue-Eyed Samurai's career. Fame and constant travels around the globe did not allow him to pay due attention to his family, and he was haunted by numerous fans on the streets of Japan. And promotional obligations forced him to sit in front of cameras for hours instead of training. I'm a star in Japan, but I feel lonely. I've got very few friends here, and I miss my family. All of these factors caused some career hiccups. Peter Arts overwhelmed him, and Hug ate a flurry of crushing blows in the prologue of the meeting. Andy failed to get past the 3-minute mark. He suffered an even more painful defeat in a showdown with the old karate buddy, Francisco Filho. When you get hit, you lose your composure and fight on reflexes, and only realize what happened when it's too late. You see how disappointed the fans are, and that's the worst part. Andy made a comeback versus Sam Greco. The Australian bulldozer attempted to run Hug over. Andy responded with flying knees. Unleashed the kicks. And kept throwing Greco to the floor on the way to a decision. Re-establishing his status, the Swiss man joined the title race. Good old Cerberus Bernardo stood guard over the 1997 Grand Prix. At first, he skillfully implemented a noticeable strength advantage and delivered a damaging strike. Andy was forced to go back to the leg-kicking tactic. Things immediately took a better turn. Hug took control and kept putting together lovely combinations until the end. Unwilling to take unnecessary risks, he found satisfaction in a decision win. The biggest tournament of the year, with 70,000 tickets sold out in an hour, took place in the fall. Starving for knockouts, in the round of 16, Andy produced a real-life massacre. The enemies survived for 2 brief minutes of doom. Putting the rival through a wrecking, the samurai whipped his fiery fist and moved on. The quarterfinal against Satake was all the more heated. 15 seconds of destruction. A single meteoric kick drilled the victim. And, seeing stars, the Japanese has had enough. In the semifinal, the blue-eyed samurai got one back on Peter Arts. Hoog decided to fight smart and turned early exchanges into clinches. Soon, a low-kick party got going. Accepting tons of leg damage, Peter barely made it to the final horn and was far behind on points. Waiting in the wings was Ernesto Hoost, who passed his previous test in style. Mr. Perfect came into the finale much fresher and began throwing bricks right away. A leg injury prevented Hoog from dishing out more than singular detonations. The second stretch was the roughest for the Swiss man. In the third, Hoog's samurai spirit finally came to life. But he simply ran out of time to get a finish. Following the 1997 Grand Prix death row, Hoog exited the ring as a runner-up. The 4-year-long swim in the shark pool that was K1 in the 90s came to a conclusion. 33-year-old Andy got back at every adversary who had bested him, while 14 knockouts and 21 triumphs made the karate master the highest-paid kickboxer in the world, and a national hero in Japan. This was an unprecedented achievement for a gaijin, albeit Hoog had been a local darling for a while. In 1998, Andy finally reunited with his wife and son. Ilona had lived and studied in the US for 2 years. That's where the blue-eyed samurai tornado rumbled next. After a brutal finishing sequence, the vis-a-vis became the traumatologist's nightmare. For the following meeting with another inconsiderate hothead, Andy turned up with an axe. Showered him with low kicks. And landed the bomb out of nowhere. The combinatory work masterclass stretched across 2 rounds. With another Grand Prix in sight, some random kamikaze got flattened with a couple of back fists. This victory granted Hoog a ticket to the big show. The counterpart in the quarterfinal was Ray Sugarfoot Sefo, a violent entertainer with a sweet nickname. The New Zealander's power was that of a nuclear warhead, even late into his career. not to mention the titanium noggin, capable of withstanding the might of peak Mark Hunt. At the outset, both contestants were flaunting. Further down the road, the situation started to heat up. So, when Ray called on Hoog to hit like a man, Andy did. Sugarfoot's bravado evaporated in an instant, as did his ability to stand. Right hooks fell into place and took Cepho with them, which was the first time in his career. In the semis versus Sam Greco, the Swiss fighter wanted to save energy for the endgame and played a long-range sniping game. Back fists would fly here and there. And so would his branded weapon. However, this whole strategy was out the window in the second round due to an obviously late strike. Deeply offended, Hoog burned the gas tank, trying to run over the Australian. Andy displayed perseverance of the highest order and took the decision. The dance partner in the finale was the long-standing friend Peter Arts, a two-time Grand Prix winner at that point. The Dutch lumberjack hit like a truck with any limb. Hoog was once again unlucky enough to test that power himself. A high kick from hell cracked Andy's head and stopped him inches away from the coveted belt. The crown and the cold-blooded knockout went to the now three-time champion from Holland. Samurai is a warrior who never stops fighting. He won't surrender alive, and neither will I. That setback aside, nothing has changed for Hoog, except a sudden disappearance of the mustache of death. In 1999, he went to town on Cepho for 3 rounds straight. In the fourth, Ray's leg almost went numb. On the second try, Andy broke him in the corner. Hoog did not let the public down against 2 Japanese competitors, both of whom got blown away by a storm of spinning kicks. Andy proved his noble status and was adamant to keep it. The guy who gave him the most trouble was Stefan Leko, who would later make a splash battling Arts. And Badr Hari. The German got off to a good start. Still, he was not destined to handle the blue-eyed samurai. Having eaten a killer knee right to the jaw, Leko barely survived the prolonged finishing sequence. The power of Swiss weaponry continued its march around the world. Following Millennium celebrations, the 35-year-old Hoog gained some momentum smacking around the younger generation. In April, Glaube Feitosa got a chance to overthrow the legend. The Brazilian karateka would soon become famous in K1 for mind-boggling knockouts, and his signature question mark kick. which became his hallmark. Their face-to-face meeting only proved that Feitosa's moment had not yet come.
グラウベ選手は、
Having occupied the center, Hug began menacingly rotating,
顔打てるようなね。
adding low kicks for good measure,
フグと
おー、足を払う。
and was accurate with the boxing.
かなって感じですよね。はい。
本当にその空手スピリッツの。
On occasion, Andy would get overzealous,
もちろん分かってたかもしれませんね。分かるかもしれませんね。自分が本当に苦労した部分が。
まあそこまでね感情移入してるかどうかわかんないんですけど。
he paid for it in the third round.
本当に今の膝がね入りましたね。
Then, high-octane blood boiled up in Hug's veins.
さあ、サイドパンチだ。さあ、アンディバランス。アンディバランス。お、ポイント。これはすごい。
すごいですね。
He would hold the reins for the remaining time.
さあ、細かいパンチ。アンディの左右のパンチ、そしてアッパー。ローが入る。アンディが攻める。左右のパンチ。手数で勝った。そして。
With a clear decision win over the Brazilian, Andy sold out an arena in his homeland. In June, 25-year-old Mirko Krokop stood across the ring. A runner-up of the previous Grand Prix, the Croatian possessed a cemetery left kick that would haunt opposition in their sleep for 2 decades. Nevertheless, old-school hazing was nothing new to K1. Hug scared off Mirko with whiffing spinning kicks and started chopping the legs. Somewhat irritated, Krokop charged forward with hefty boxing flurries. Andy readjusted and began pitching back. The Croatian felt even less confident as they got closer. His sharp attacks, dangerous as they were, turned into sporadic outbursts with non-impressive outcomes. Halfway through the match, Hug shifted focus to the body, and then instigated an axe-throwing contest. In need of a knockout in the 4th round, Mirko went all in with belligerent offense. Andy withstood the hurricane and was strategic until the final gong, to the approving roar of the fans. Krokop's unlimited firepower was not enough to break the blue-eyed samurai's spirit that night. Hug outplayed the Croatian in his own domain and calmly brought the confrontation to a unanimous decision. In July of 2000, he performed once more. Andy's explosive perks were there as usual. At the 3-minute mark, he reminded the audience that every blow could be the last. With yet another triumph, Hug improved the record to 37-9, with 21 men tranquilized. Riding a streak of high-profile victories, Andy began preparation for the next Grand Prix. He thought about calling it a day, but was not going to leave without trying to climb the podium again. Unfortunately, those plans would not come to bear. During a homeland visit, Hug suffered more than 39 attacks of high fever and heavy nose bleeding. Swiss doctors found nothing, and on August 14th, he flew to Japan. 5 days later, the samurai was diagnosed with leukemia. Medical staff immediately started fighting for his life, and on August 22nd, Hug was able to write an open letter to fans. I think you'll be shocked when you hear what health state I am in. This illness is the strongest opponent I have faced so far, but I will win. I will get powered by your cheers as if I'm in the ring and beat this opponent. I will appear before you again one day. Don't lose hope. Greetings, Andy Hug. As it turned out, this message was a farewell. Soon Andy fell into a coma, and on August 24th, his heart stopped 3 times. Physicians were able to restore Hug's heartbeat, but when it happened a 4th time, they let Andy go beyond the veil in peace. He was only 35 years old. Nobuaki Kakuda and Peter Arts were there when it happened, unable to hold back tears.
For me, the fight day was top 5. I will never forget it.
Hug's funeral in his second home, Japan, was attended by 13,000 people. Some blood sport buddies and the president of Switzerland among them. The ring announcer uttered Andy's name and the curtain fell for the last time. Only a few select fighters become legends, but Andy Hug will forever remain in the hearts of true martial arts fans.
Andy-Kick, hier an der Europameisterschaft.
Within the ropes, he was a knight without fear, and it propelled him to the top of K1. Despite the tragic and premature defeat to the Grim Reaper, his decade-long karate extravaganza will be set in stone till the end of time. Rest in peace, Blue-Eyed Samurai.